The president's tariffs could actually be in jeopardy. After hearing nearly 3 hours worth of oral arguments today, the Supreme Court actually appears skeptical of his power to use emergency law to impose them. It is worth pointing out that this law has never been used for this purpose before and doesn't even mention tariffs. It goes without saying this case not only has huge implications for the president, but for our entire economy. The nightcap is still here. Mark, you wrote about today's arguments for Slate, and you called them a bloodbath for Trump. Explain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the Supreme Court is going to strike down these tariffs. And
explain why. A lot of people were not tuned in today.
So at least 3 conservative justices, John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, they came in gunning for Bear. They were not remotely convinced by the Justice Department's arguments. They said, look, this is a statute that, as you just said, Steph, doesn't talk about tariffs, taxes, duties, imposts, anything like that. It's been around since 1977. No previous president has ever even attempted to use it for tariffs. And now Trump thinks that it gives him the power to impose any tariffs he wants against any country he wants for as long as he wants. This Supreme Court spent 4 years of the Biden administration saying, look, if the president wants to do something big and bold, he needs to have clear congressional authorization for it. That authorization does not exist here in this statute. And so at least those 3 justices, plus the 3 liberals, I mean, they were being consistent. They were saying, we just don't see in the law that you're showing us anything that looks like authorization for
this. But here's what I don't understand. This is the unprecedented precedent.
Sure.
And they have been absolutely A-OK with power grabs in all different places. How come not here?
Well, I think they hate taxes more than they love Trump. I also think that there's a lot of cross pressures here. The Chamber of Commerce sided against the tariffs, right? A lot of the business communities against it. I also think, the justices are pretty smart. Maybe not Brett Kavanaugh, but most of the justices are smart enough to know that tariffs are a tax on the American people, as Chief Justice Roberts said, right? It's just economics 101 that a country's trade deficit is exactly matched by its influx of cash, right? We are spending money buying things from other countries because we are a rich nation.
And let's be clear, there are countries that we impose tariffs on that we don't have a trade deficit with.
Exactly right.
I'm wondering, could this be helpful to Donald Trump politically?
Yeah.
Right? People don't like tariffs. There was a double-digit, almost a 20-point shift. I was looking back at some of my monthly data among independent young men, right? March, April, I Googled, what happened in April? Tariffs, right? Went from basically even to a 20-something point deficit for Trump, right? Small business don't like it. The economy doesn't like it. Maybe the Supreme Court is actually saving his hide.
Okay, that is my exact question. Is this great politics for him? Is this Donald Trump's most elegant off-ramp from the trade war? Because he can say, I tried to do this. I wanted to bring jobs back. This is what mattered to me. And they wouldn't let me do it, when actually this is the best thing for the economy, for the American consumer, for American businesses, because the true impact of the tariffs has not even hit yet.
Look, I think this is Donald Trump's mentality. He's just trying to give a big middle finger to the courts and try to fight them as much as possible and push his own agenda. We've seen it with, literally extrajudicial murder in the open seas. We've seen it with masked men and ICE. We've seen it the way he's doing his universities. He's just trying to ignore the Supreme Court as much as he can, or any courts, and just push his agenda and hope that it gets gummed up in the courts enough. So perhaps, but that's just his mentality. He's just trying to railroad anything through, and if the courts strike it down, that's fine, but he has at least somebody to blame if that happens.
And I think for the court, this is like the best chance they have to stand up to Trump. This is like a clear, easy decision for them where they can, because I do think they want, and they're even in their own minds, to be seen as somehow impartial, and they will stand up to him. And then just in terms of delivering on his campaign promises, the tariffs have been a disaster. They're inflationary. They haven't completely changed all the things he said he was going to solve everything with this one great move. So it's he's the incumbent. He's not delivering.
Then does everybody win? The court wins because they have stood up to him. He wins because he actually gets to exit this trade war and save face. And America wins because we don't fall into just economic disaster.
I think everyone wins, but I do think Trump is sort of damaged. He likes to be, he's also losing. And one of the ways he's been so successful in intimidating and silencing people is just that he's just been steamrolling all these people. So I think it is it helps him that he's out of this bad economic policy, but he's losing.
Or if he loves these tariffs so much, and he has loved them for 30 years, is he just going to find a workaround to still implement them? Because I've talked to a lot of CEOs over the last 2 weeks who I'm like, are you watching every single word of the Supreme Court? And they're basically like, no, we have it priced in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the Supreme Court does. Trump's going to find a way to implement.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Frankly, I think that's what the market believes is going to happen. The reality is there are other statutes on the books that allow Trump to impose tariffs for national security purposes and to address the trade deficit, even though it's not a problem. In reality, he thinks it is. They are narrower. They are time limited. They impose a cap. They're not a blank check like the law that he's trying to use for these tariffs. But I think the next day after the Supreme Court strikes down these tariffs, he turns around and slaps a whole bunch of new tariffs on the rest of the world. And even if those get challenged, it takes months for it to go through the court. He is not going to take the win on this that the Supreme Court wants to hand him.
Okay, but he has been relying on these tariffs to do a lot of things, to pay for a lot of things, like extend the tax cuts. Without the money, listen, he could argue it's foreign countries paying the tariffs or it's U.S. companies paying. I'm even willing to say I don't care who's paying them. But the amount of money that the U.S. government is supposed to be getting from the tariffs, if the Supreme Court knocks this down, what is he going to do for where's this gap is going to be here? He needs that money for a whole lot of things.
Yeah, but that revenue has been a joke to begin with. If he were serious about addressing the deficit, he wouldn't have given the biggest tax cut to billionaires in the history of the United States, right? So it's a great talking point for him to say we've generated X billion of dollars in these tariffs, but that was never going to cover the deficit, and that's the con of the president, right? He likes to say that he's addressing the problems when in actuality he's doing the complete opposite.
And what is this going to mean for Republicans in Congress who have not been behind the tariffs, but who have basically said, I guess he's in charge?
We're back to what do they decide as they face re-election in 2 years or a year. Actually, you know, these policies aren't working. The deficit isn't coming down. You're exactly right. They increased defense funding, all the hard decisions, Social Security, health care. They've dealt with none of the serious problems in the deficit. So again, Trump is not delivering all these fantastic things he said he was going to solve overnight. That will probably continue for the next year. And then Republicans like in the House in particular, do they shift?
He is delivering for crypto.
That's true.
So,
and he's incredibly effective at messaging. He's incredibly effective at getting us in the media responding to what he wants every day. And I don't think any wise person should count Donald Trump out. Ever,
he's the most skilled politician of our lifetime. You can't say you are running for office and you could despise Donald Trump. You could say he's a hypocrite. You could say he's the worst person in the world. But he's an extraordinarily gifted politician.
Look, I think it's really important that we don't underestimate him and that every time we think that he's done, he somehow rises like a phoenix. And so we need to keep the fight on him and we need to keep the pressure on him. Gavin Newsom, again, not to go back to the previous block, but Gavin Newsom has put a playbook out that is clearly effective, as is the message around affordability. We have to keep both of those top of mind. If we do, we keep winning.